Hey everybody, this is the overview and high points from the chapter on good enough design. So some key concepts. There's just one thing, stay dry, and good enough is good enough. We'll be talking about these three things briefly. First off, just one thing, SRP, the single responsibility principle. Every object in your system should have a single responsibility. When you are designing software, when you are building code, when you are building classes, you need to make sure that everything has a single responsibility. Okay, this is really, really important. If you don't do this, your software will be very hard to change. It will be very hard to update or upgrade, to modify, because everything will be entangled or coupled together. We do not want this. Okay? This is something we don't want. What we do want is everything to have a single responsibility. Your book gives this great way of doing an SRP analysis where you write down the class name, SRP analysis for class name, and then you write down the methods and everything in these lines, right? The blank blanks itself. So I think the example they give in the book is the car, right? And it can say the car gets oil itself, which makes no sense because a car should not get its own oil. The mechanic or the user should put oil in the car. So that should not be part of the class. And so there's really good examples like this. This is really, really important though, and they will help you stay focused while you are writing code. Single responsibility, while we try to do it initially while we're designing code, while we're writing code, we typically do it after the fact while we are refactoring code. Refactoring code is just the continual series of changes we make to code to improve it. Um, Always keep this in mind that you want to aim towards single responsibility. Will you always be able to do this? Absolutely not. This is not a hard and fast, this has to be met 100% of the time. This is the goal. This is the perfect world. Everything has one single responsibility. It's what we aim for. Will we always hit it? No, but we can come darn close. A very related concept to this is to stay dry. Don't repeat yourself. Don't copy code, right? So if you have methods inside multiple classes that have the same signature and the same content, abstract that, right? Make a base class, use inheritance, all this kind of thing. Develop utility modules. Don't repeat yourself. When I was working in industry, I had methods I'd write that I used over and over again. And instead of copying them into every single project, I created a completely separate project that built a library of utilities that I used on a regular basis. So simply don't repeat yourself. If you find repeated code, it's going to cause you problems. Don't do it. The final item is that good enough is good enough. There's this great quote that's typically attributed to Voltaire that says, perfect is the enemy of good. And this is 100% true. Why? Well, we've all heard of the 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle. If you look at the triangle, you'll find out that you get 20% of your target from 80% of the people, right? So if you're raising money, uh, you'll get, this is how it splits up. It's the same principle of 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and 80% of the people do 20% of the work. So what do we want to target? We want to target the most important thing, right? We want to target being good enough. Why? Because if we do the good enough part, the rest takes care of itself. Good enough gets us there, and we can slowly work on becoming perfect over time. Do remember, getting good enough is also the most cost-effective way because what you will find is 20% of the cost is that initial 80% of the work. But 80% of that work is that final 20%. It's the perfect touches, the perfection, the iteration, the over and over and over and over, right? It's getting stuck in maintenance and trying to achieve perfection. Always aim for perfect, knowing that you will likely never hit it. So those are the high points from Good Enough Design. This is one of my favorite chapters, and I think these are some of the core principles you can take away from this course in terms of software engineering. So please remember, single responsibility, stay dry, and good enough is good enough.